Welcome to the Jamodi podcast, where we interview coaches and leaders to find out not just what they do, but how they do what they do. Becoming the best version of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. All right, first question. How do you live out your culture on a daily basis?
And some of these, I sit here and think about where I was when I was coaching in college, 6, 7 years ago, and then as I transitioned into skill development and then coaching all these youth teams. And so I kind of look at where we were and where we are now, and I think the big thing that the three things that we always look at would be toughness, communication, and courage. I think are the three things that we are trying to live out on a daily basis, whether it be our fourth grade girls team or our college team at Wayland Baptist. And when we talk about toughness, I think the big thing that we looked at there is just being an everyday guy. Um, the saying "chop wood, carry water" was something that we had all over everything we did. I actually read the book afterwards, and one of the
Nice.
best books that I've read. But just the idea of we do have a process. We're going to show up every day, irregardless of result. We've got to clock in and do things right each day in order to kind of proceed to the next step. And so with toughness, I think trying to be process oriented was a big piece of it. Trying to cultivate the idea of an every play guy, just consistency. I think the Jay Billis thoughts on toughness is something that we really tried to talk about what toughness meant to us. The communication piece, I think, is something that I've talked to my oldest daughter about this a lot. It's the idea of it may not be your gift, but it's a quality you have to cultivate.
Hmm.
And so just because it's not your gift doesn't mean it has to be this process that you're very uncomfortable doing it, and I'm having to berate you to do it type of a thing. I want it to become something that you understand is something you're gonna have to cultivate.
Love that.
And then the idea of courage. I think that's something that that word just really has stuck with me over the last few years of trying to be courageous in the way we play, and courageous in the way we um, think, courageous in the way that we compete. And I think there's the idea of joy and courage and not fearing the consequences of things going wrong.
Hmm.
That's something that we really have tried to blend with that idea of being tough, but being tough involves being courageous.
When you were especially coaching college basketball, how in what ways, like if you watched a player do something or you saw a play go by, like what was something where like that's courage? I see it in that moment.
I think it's the willingness to. I mean, you could make it a decision, like the willingness to make the decision. We talk about do what you think you see, and trying to be the more aggressive team. And so I think if you see a guy having the courage to try to make a play, take a big shot, if they're doing that, correctly, you got to celebrate that. And I think that's something that how do you develop guys that want the ball in a big moment? How you develop guys that'll slide over and take a charge? Well, being willing to try it, even if
Hmm.
if they're trying it in the right way and it doesn't go well. Let's don't dwell on that. Let's celebrate the courage it took to try to make that play. And so I think it could be a defensive play and an offensive play, maybe just attacking a gap, trying to do something that we want to do, and whether it works, try not to be completely results driven in
Hmm.
that process of cultivating some of those qualities.
And now you're in the skill work development world even more. I could see how courage and that kind of the culture of all three things, but courage especially, can help these kids because in skill development, it's all about taking chances and making those mistakes and the fear of that. I mean, either from coaches players have had or parents that players have, whatever it is that makes them kind of always wary and worried about those mistakes. I can see courage being a huge part in your skill work and training.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's you I have the luxury of creating a lab in a sense. There's not a win or loss hanging over some of our workouts. And I think a wonderful opportunity for kids. Everything they do is structured now,
Mm.
and there's a trainer, there's a coach, there's a summer league, everything's got somebody there with them. And so I think the idea of finding a place where they feel like they can go for it, they can try to make that decision, and again, kind of going back to that, do what you think you see. And
Mm.
how do you develop instincts with a player? Well, first you got to get them to what they think they see. And I think so many kids are hiding in plain sight. They're trying to not mess up, playing it too safe. And that environment is a lot of fun to be around, especially with the youth. And I mean, heck, it's you want more joy in everything you do. And so getting older guys to do the same thing is a lot of fun. But having kids that are going for it, trying to make that play, let's celebrate that, and learn from it. It doesn't have to. That it's the book that I mentioned to you, Annie Duke. The idea of it's resulting. Like,
Mm.
what is the best decision you ever made? We're probably going to tell you a decision that worked out. What's the worst decision you ever made? We're going to probably tell you something that didn't work out, but that's resulting. And it's this
Mm.
idea of we can't. There's a component of luck. There's a component of things working out that we got to be careful that we're not resulting as coaches and people.
That's awesome. I'm definitely stealing the resulting idea. And I've always loved that quote, "Do what you see." And I think for players, that's pretty powerful, because we want them to be instinctual and do things in the moment. And that's where I don't like, don't think, play. That's not, you have to think, but that thinking has to be fast, and you have to be able to see something and react really quick. One more thing, going back to toughness, because I mean, as a high school coach, and then I gotta imagine tons of coaches out there at every level all want their teams to be tougher. What were some things that you did well that made your college teams really tough to play against?
I think it probably goes back to the Steve Nash idea of becoming comfortable, being uncomfortable in a sense. But the idea of we were real truth tellers, and we're
Mm.
going to stack things against ourselves. We're going to make this really difficult. We're going to um, just get used to that idea that this is not going to be easy. Embracing. We talked a lot about um, embracing the adversity, not handling it. Embrace it and defeat it,
Mm.
and really trying to take the approach that we're going to prepare for that, be by willing to kind of walk through those difficult things, walk through it, and then just to me, it's the idea of you know I've got to I've got to model it. I've got to model toughness, being an everyday guy. I've got to come in with high energy. We've got to teach it. We got to encourage it. Sometimes demand it. There's the moment where it's just there's a consequence for not doing it. But then at the same time, I think celebrating it. I think whatever we're going to celebrate is important to us. And I think when you can start to that, we had little first and second grade 3-on-3 league on Sunday afternoons that we just got done with, and we celebrate those kids being first to the floor for a loose ball. We celebrate them trying, and it's amazing how quickly you got kids modeling that behavior, because everybody wants to be celebrated. You always talk about, everybody wants to hear their name. And I love that. And I think that there's this idea that, um, that's human nature. And I think
Right.
we need to play into that, creating that toughness. I think there's this challenging component, but then there's this celebration component. And I don't know that you can do one without the other, because I don't think toughness just comes out of fear.
Mm. Toughness doesn't come out of fear or from fear. I love that. I think, yeah, you're celebrating. I think as coaches, we need to look for those opportunities to celebrate the positives, because I know for me, it's natural to, where's negatives, where are things that need to improve. And man, you can just find those all over the place and really quick. But if you can flip that switch or train yourself to almost see the positives more, I mean, how much more joy is in the workout, and how many players become just happier while they train. And I think that's important. That's good stuff.
Mhm.
All right, question two: how does individual skill work into your daily practice? Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.